Hey everybody, it's Shu. I wanted to show you the build that I've been using on these stealth heists that I've been recording. So let's get to it and start by looking at skills. In Mastermind, we're only spending these points here. We're going for Forced Friendship to tie down hostages faster. Going for Confident to improve our power and range of intimidation. Normally don't need that. Every now and then, I guess, if you want, you can shout down a guard rather than killing him, but there's no need. You're still going to have to answer a pager. But we want to get up here to Stockholm Syndrome, so we can take the basic version of that, where if you make noise, civilians are intimidated and they get down. That's really handy on jobs like nightclub or on bank jobs. If you don't want to shout everyone down or you don't want to kill them, you can use noise to control them by firing a bullet into the air or revving a saw that doesn't have a silent engine, things like that. I mean, I guess the silent engine will also scare them if they're much closer. So yeah, that's a handy skill. I like it on diamond store, nightclub, jewelry store is good. Just anywhere that you need to control guys and you don't want to just shoot them. Enforcer, we're taking resilience. The armor recovery rate doesn't matter, but we need it to move up to transporter so we can throw bags further. Throwing bags further is going to make a difference. It's going to cut into the amount of time you spend on your heist, and it also is likely to improve success rate on things like, for example, getting the stealth armor out on Shadow Raid, not stealth armor, samurai armor out, because throwing the bags further means you're spending less time moving them. It gives the guards less time to path by the vault and get freaked out if you haven't removed every guard that was going to path by. It's also handy on Big Bank if you didn't buy the garage opening. Being able to throw the bags further, it gives you more room to get them from the balcony into the van. On Shadow Raid, it allows you to throw bags from the balcony on the right side of the building if you're facing out toward the street. Allows you to throw it from that balcony into the shipping container that is down by the river tug. So transporter's good, get it. Scavenger doesn't matter, but we need it to move up the tree so that we can ace portable saw. Using the saw is nice, having the extra blade is nice, making the saw more efficient is nice. The efficiency matters most on jobs where you're going to be cutting open deposit boxes. For example, any of the normal Harvest and Trustee banks. Can also be nice on train heist because you can use the saw to cut those open. And the more efficient your blades, the less you have to spend on your ammo. Technician, we're taking turret skills that we're never going to use because we want to ace Jack of all trades, which lets us bring a second deployable. And this is so incredibly useful. Instead of just bringing ECMs or just bringing body bags or just bringing trip mines for sensors, you can bring a combination of them. The second thing you bring, there'll be half as many. Usually I bring 2 ECMs and 1 case of body bags, because 1 case of body bags is more than enough for most missions. You start with 2 body bags, 1 case will give you 3 more. 5 is already enough to cover every single guard that you might kill in a successful run, plus a civilian. But you can, swap it around. If you want to have 2 cases of body bags and an ECM on a job where you might kill a lot of civilians, like for example, Diamond Store or Big Bank, you can do that. If you want to bring 1 case and you want to have a bunch of trip mines, for example on Framing Frame, you can do that. Jack of all trades is amazing, and if I could fit it into every single build, stealth or loud, I would. Hardware expert, make our drills fix faster, make them silent. The silent part is really important. Make them faster. Increase the time, or increase the speed of the drills on Drill Sergeant. Kickstarter's awesome because being able to restart a drill with melee can save your ass. It's also just more convenient. For example, in a Harvest and Trustee map, restarting the drill with melee probably isn't going to save you because you probably are already fine. But it cuts, a bunch of time, and it cuts a pain in the ass out of the work. It'll save you on things like Election Day, where, for example, if you have already spent all your key cards and you find yourself needing to drill into cages to find more crates to crack open, having a silent drill that you can restart with melee gives you less time fixing that drill and less time with that drill out there to be seen. And so it can be a lifesaver. And we're acing more firepower to bring more trip mines with us, because you can set out trip mines in stealth heists, and they will act as sensor mines instead unless you switch them over to explosive mode. and that means that when somebody crosses the beam, it will mark them on your radar and make a beep sound to alert you that somebody has crossed through it. Really handy on big jobs like framing frame. It's handy if you're in a multi-person run and you want to be able to alert people. I know somebody uses them a lot in Shadow Raid, so it's just nice to have. And then we're taking steady grip and fire control for the extra accuracy. Accuracy is important. You don't want to accidentally hit a window behind somebody and crack the glass and alert the whole place. You want to hit what you're shooting. Ghost. This is where most of our stuff is going to be for a stealth job, unsurprising. Acing Chameleon, because picking up items in casing mode is really cool. Basic is nice for more time getting undetected. But picking up items in casing mode is cool. We use that to pick up the key card that is in the hallway behind the tellers on Harvest and Trustee bank jobs. We use it to pick up a key card that we place on Big Bank. I am a big fan of it. Sixth Sense is awesome. The basic one is invaluable. Being able to sit and wait for it to ping guys around you is really helpful. And acing it gives you insider assets, which will unlock useful things, for example, like placing those key cards that we mentioned. Cleaner, the ability to place extra body bag cases is pretty cool. Like I said, 2 body bag cases is usually excessive, but there's a few jobs where it can be handy. ECM Overdrive, the feedback part of it, completely irrelevant, but the second part, acing it, using ECMs to open doors, very handy. Use that sometimes in Big Bank, on Train Heist. Really, there's a bunch of different places where it's just handy to be able to open doors with an ECM. Nimble, because we want to have tape loop from the basic effect, and we want to pick locks faster. That gets even better if you have the burglar deck. We don't have the burglar deck. It's not a big deal. You don't need it. But if you have it, run it here. There's no reason not to. And then we have basic ECM specialist, because having 2 of them is very nice. Duck and cover, well, stamina, it's not necessary, but the faster you regen stamina, the faster you can get through a heist, especially if it involves lots of bag running, like for example the end of Golden Grin or Shadow Raid, things where you have to move a lot of bags. More stamina will help you do it. Inner pockets, just to improve the concealment of our melee weapons. The more concealment we have on our stuff, the more we can get away with putting on our guns, and I'll show you that later. We run a few things that, if you were concerned about only concealment, aren't optimal, but we can get away with it and have stronger weapons because of the concealment that we get from things like this. Parkour, just because running faster is helpful and it makes you less likely to get caught. Second wind doesn't matter, but we need it to climb up the tree. We're acing optical illusions because having concealment for each of our silence weapons is nice, and reducing the concealment penalty of silencers by 2 means that we can put bigger silencers on things and get more stats out of them. For example, without this ability aced on a pistol, we might run the size doesn't matter suppressor so that we don't take a concealment hit. And you can do that, but if you have this aced, you can have something that has a concealment hit of up to 2 and still not notice a difference. This skill will completely negate it. That means on missions where we run the Shimano compact pistol, like Train Heist, we can run Champion Silencer instead, which gives us an accuracy boost rather than costing us stats. We're running this just for extra stability, snap to zoom speed, specialized killing, more damage with silenced weapons. And you might be confused about that because in stealth, one shot of literally any weapon will kill literally any enemy. That was actually put to kind of hilarious effect back in the day on Hoxton Breakout in the garage when you would open up the office where the bulldozer would turn around and fight you. He was sitting in a chair and he would turn around to look at you for dramatic effect before getting up. Unfortunately, that meant that the bulldozer didn't see you, and if you were really quick, you were considered in stealth to that bulldozer and you could one-shot him with anything. That doesn't work anymore, but it used to, and it was really cool. So you might be saying, well, if you can one-shot anything with any weapon when you're in stealth, why do you need extra damage? You need that extra damage because you're not always going to be in stealth. Sometimes things are going to spot you. A really good example is on Shadow Raid in the camera room. My preferred method is to run to the guy's left side, crouch and fire him upward into a corner using the judge to catapult his body. And if you get the timing right, you can do it before he notices you and do it in one shot. But a lot of the time he will notice you, and once he notices you, he's got the full benefit of his HP, and your shots don't kill him in one shot. So doing more damage is really important to burn him down before he pulls the trigger on his gun and alerts everyone. 15% damage matters, and especially when it's on a big, hard-hitting weapon like the Judge. And then Fugitive, this stuff doesn't super matter. I mostly used it to get the extra bullets and pistols from Gun Nut and extra accuracy with pistols. Most of the time I'm not even using pistols, but once in a while I am. If you are running a build and you don't have the first 5 infamy that give you the tier bonuses, and so you can't afford all the skills in this build, this is the stuff I would cut. The stuff in the Fugitive tree right here should be the first thing to go, because this is like strictly comfort. It's strictly, I've got some points left, let's put them in something that makes our life a little easier. It's not nearly as important as anything else. So that's the build. Let's show you what weapons we're running. Starting with a Carrefour. You don't have to run a Carrefour. I just do because it was the first weapon I could put together that had really high concealment, and I've had no reason to change since then. There's all sorts of mods you can put on it to improve your concealment, and so that's what I use. For the barrel, we start with the short barrel because it gives us concealment. Barrel extension, I'm running the bigger the better suppressor. It's not actually the most concealed thing that we have, but because we have the skill that reduces the concealment penalty by 2, we're only taking 1 concealment hit here, and you'll notice that we're still at detection rating 3. So that's the lowest you can get in the game. So we don't need to run these smaller suppressors like low profile or medium. We can run this instead and get more bonuses. We can get the accuracy and stability bonuses that come with this great big suppressor. Boost, I'm running Team Boost. Concealment might be what you're thinking, but as you can see, we're already at 3 detection rating with this build. If, for example, you don't have one of the items that we're using that makes us at 3 detection rating, then sure, go with a concealment build. I'm running Team Boost, and Team Boost is silly and basically useless, but I figure we're doing these big prestige stealth heists where we're pulling in a lot of money. This is the only time where the 3% money reward is actually going to matter. We might as well use it here. If you are dead set on using the absolute best possible thing, I would go with accuracy, because the gun build as it is, it's not perfectly accurate. So accuracy will improve that. I'm using Team Boost because I want more money. I want to fill my vault quicker. Single fire for the improvement to our accuracy, and because we don't need automatic fire. This weapon we're strictly using to plink guys with 1 shot when we're in stealth to kill them, so we might as well use that. Foregrip, the competition foregrip, gives us 8 accuracy and 2 concealment. It is everything that we want for a weapon like this. There are these other items from the AK car mod pack which I don't own, so I can't really speak to how good they are. Compact laser module, because it gives us a laser which helps us aim quickly, and it does it with no concealment penalty. Grip, I'm using the rubber grip, gives us accuracy and stability, and unlike the Pro and Ergo grips, we don't lose other things, like Pro grip gives us a concealment penalty, Ergo grip gives us a stability but no accuracy. If you want to run an item that comes with, 1 more concealment penalty, you can run straight grip, and it'll give you 2 more concealment instead of rubber grip. But running this right now, we're still at 3 detection risk, so I don't have any need to do that. And the rubber grip gives us a pretty good helping of stats on there at no concealment cost, so we do that. The only lower receivers from the AK car mod pack, which I don't own. Vintage mag, just for the 1 concealment. There's really no reason to run any of the other mags. Even the speed pull magazine from the new DLC, which comes at no concealment penalty and just reloads faster, there's really no reason to use it. We're putting this rifle together to plink guys dead in 1 shot because we're shooting them in stealth. We're not unloading a ton of bullets, and we don't need to reload quickly in combat because we are not getting into combat situations. So use the vintage mag. There's no reason to run these other ones with the extra ammo. Vintage mag gives you a concealment point, and you can use that to spend it on getting nicer things, like for example, the bigger the better suppressor. And speculator sight. You don't need a sight on here. I'm using it because I like this sight. It comes at the smallest concealment penalty. There's a few other things that come at one concealment penalty. Speculator sight is my favorite. I use it because being able to zoom in is handy if you need to, for example, pop cameras from far away, things like that. If you decide that you don't like sights or you don't need a sight, then by all means remove it, because you will get an extra concealment point back, and you can spend that on, you know, other things to make your guns better. Or for example, if you don't have a concealment boost for the judge, which we use. Stock, we're using the folding stock because it's 3 concealment, nothing even comes close. That gives us so many points to play around with. And then exotic receiver, because it's the only thing we get that isn't from the DLCs, and it comes with just free stability at no cost for other things. So yeah, if you have that, run it. You don't need it. Stability is not super important on a gun that's firing one shot, and the damage does not matter on a gun that's firing one shot. We're not going to be using this to burn down alerted targets. We're going to be using the judge for that. So you don't need the receiver, but I have it, so I'm going to run it. Secondary weapon, we are running a silenced judge. Ammunition, 000 buckshot, because it gives you extra damage at 0 cost to what you were using before. We don't want to use HE rounds in this because the explosions will alert everybody. Barrel extension, we're running the SH suppressor. You could run the silent killer suppressor, but we can run this and get more stats out of this while still staying at 3 detection risk. But again, if you, for example, don't have a concealment boost like we're running, then silent killer suppressor is a way to get an extra concealment. So concealment boost here. If you're picking up on a theme here, it's that there are things that are handy and you don't necessarily need any of them. There's a lot of room to sort of mix and match, but adding one concealment point in one place will let you cut it out somewhere else so that you can put things together that work in a way that's optimal for you. Taking compact laser module because it adds a laser so that we can aim better, and it comes at no cost. And then sights, we're not running a sight because I will show you why. Speculator sight is my favorite. If we use it though, kicks us up to 4 detection risk. There's nothing wrong with that. 4 detection risk is still perfectly good, but we can be at 3. And we don't really get a benefit out of running a sight on the judge, so we're not using it anymore. Melee weapon, anything that has 32 concealment. I'm running the buzzer, which starts at 30 base, but because of our skills becomes 32. It's nice to run the buzzer or the electric brass knuckles, which have basically the same effect, and that comes at base 32 concealment, because that will shut down an opponent and prevent them from shooting at you, which is really handy if, for example, you find yourself needing to reload in the middle of a stealth situation, like you forgot to reload after a previous encounter. You can shock them, reload, open fire again. So yeah, I use the buzzer. Electric brass knuckles is going to be just as good. If for some reason you don't like these kinds of weapons, at least pick something that has 32 concealment. Really, as long as your opponent hasn't found you, anything is going to kill them in one hit, so do what you want to do. We run Ace of Spades, but any of these other throwables that doesn't make noise is fine. The point here is we don't want something that explodes with noise, like concussion grenades, frag grenades, things like that. We want something that's silent, because if we accidentally press the 3 key, we don't want to ruin the whole heist for ourselves and possibly others. I like Ace of Spades just because it comes with the most of them, so if for some reason you want to throw them around a lot, you can. And then equipment. Normally I'm running 2 ECM jammers, and then as a secondary the body bag case. It says 2, but because of the way Jack of all trades works, you're carrying half as many on your secondary deployable, so we're actually carrying 1 body bag case. you're not married to this selection of equipment. This is just what I use by default. Sometimes I'll make body bag cases primary so I can bring 2 of them. For example, like I said, on Diamond Store, on Big Bank, jobs where you're going to kill a whole lot of civilians. Most of the time you don't need it because you come with 2 body bags already, and a case will give you 5 total. That's more than you're going to use on the average shadow raid. It's more than you're going to use on most stealth heists because you can't kill more than 4 guards without setting off the alarm. Every now and then we use trip mines if we want to use sensors. They're good on shadow raid. They're good on framing frame day 3. Really anything where you want to get more coverage and know where guards are outside the reach of your cameras, trip mines can be good. And that'll do it. You're running a 2-piece suit because it's obviously the most concealed thing. Run burglar deck if you have it. I don't. Rogue is fine. And that ought to do it. Use this build when you go into stealth and you will have the tools you need to take down any of these missions solo. So yeah, go try it for yourself. Happy heisting.